Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. These are art projects taught by the elementary art teachers from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. We hope you have fun, create imaginative works of art, and make sure you share them with someone because after all, visual arts are meant to be seen.
Hi, cool cats, and welcome back to another episode of the Heart of a Viking. Today we'll be interviewing your brain and learning about Andy Warhol and printmaking. Now focus your radio as we sharpen our claws and learn a little history about Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol was born on August 6th in 1928 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He is very famous for his pop art and his work that focuses on celebrities, advertising, and artistic expression. He worked with many forms of media, including painting and photography, drawing, sculpture, film, music, and printmaking. He even started a magazine and recorded several movies. He called his studio where he worked the factory, and it became a famous meeting place for creative people and celebrities. The factory is still located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but now it serves as a museum of Andy Warhol's art. In the 1960s, he produced a series of paintings of iconic American images. They included Campbell's soup cans, dollar bills, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, and Coca-Cola bottles. Well, Cape artists, here we are for a printmaking lesson this time. So we just learned a little bit about Andy Warhol and pop art and printmaking. So I grabbed a couple of things today. I grabbed a can of soup that I had in my cabinet. Just going to use it as a model today. I'm not actually going to open it and eat the soup. I'm just going to use it to show me how to draw something called a cylinder, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. I also am going to need today some kind of styrofoam. I found some styrofoam from an egg carton. I'm actually going to be using this flat piece of styrofoam right here. I'll be cutting that out in a few minutes. I just need like a rectangle, any kind of rectangle. I'm going to be using some water-based markers today, not permanent. They have to be water-based like Crayola or Crazy Art or whatever brand you have at home. I'll need some scissors to do the cutting out of the styrofoam, and I'm going to need a pencil and maybe a pen. I might need a pen today. This is actually a pen. Pretty cool. And then, of course, my art paper when I'm ready for that. Hold it right there, cool cats. I forgot to mention you're also going to need a slightly wet sponge when you get to the end of this project. So if you want to gather it now, you can, but you need a slightly wet sponge to finish this project up. All right, so the first thing I need to do is prepare my egg cartons. Let's get this guy out of the way. And, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just cut off the lid here. So I'm just going to cut straight up here. And then I'm going to cut out one of the rectangles. It doesn't matter which side. I'm just going to cut out one of this side. Next, I'm going to take one of my pieces of art paper here and my rectangle, and I'm actually going to trace. Perfect. Okay, let's get this out of the way for a second. All right, so now I'm going to draw on here. Keep my little piece of styrofoam. I'm going to draw on my paper for right now because I want to practice. If I start to draw right onto my styrofoam, I won't be able to erase. So I'm going to draw onto my paper so that I am able to erase if I need to. All right, so let's get this back out. This is something called a cylinder, and it's closed at the top and closed at the bottom. So to draw a cylinder, I'm going to lay that guy down right there. To draw a cylinder, I need two straight lines that take up almost my whole piece of paper. I want them to be, I don't know, maybe about a finger width from the top. I could probably even make these guys a little taller and maybe even a little longer, about a finger width from the bottom. That's looking pretty good. And these lines are kind of special. They are right beside each other, but they're not touching at all. There's a math word that we use a lot of times for that, and that word is parallel. So these two lines are parallel, and that represents the edges of my can. Next, I'm going to draw this top ring right here, and to make it look a little more 3D, I'm not going to go straight across. I'm actually going to make it dip down a little bit and curve back up. That line is called an arch. I like to call it a smile because it looks like a big long smile going across. And the bottom edge is going to be exactly the same. So that same line again at the bottom, arching down and curving back up. Now, to make this look like it is solid at the top, I'm going to need to draw the other side. The other side is the opposite of this. So instead of curving down, it's going to curve up and come back down. Excellent. So now this is the top of the can, that's the bottom, and of course that's the front of the can. To make this look even more like the top, I'm going to draw that little pull ring right there. Excellent. Okay, so now I think I'm done with my can for right now. I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to draw a label on my can. So I'm going to repeat this curved line once more right here. Okay, so that's like the label, and that's like the silver part of the can. And I'm going to repeat that down here again to make the bottom of the label. Excellent. Now, there's one sort of tricky part to this project. Since we're doing a printmaking piece of artwork, we actually are going to be writing the word soup across here, but we have to write the letters backwards. So I'll show you on my scrap paper where I cut out this rectangle from. This is how you normally spell soup, S-O-U-P. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But we have to not only write the letters backwards, but also in reverse order. So the P gets to go first, but instead of making the P go this way, I have to actually make the P go this way. Hey, it looks kind of like a number 9. The U is super easy because a U backwards is just a U. And I bet you can guess the O is actually pretty easy too because it's the same. The S is a little tricky. So a regular S would go this way, which means that a backwards S needs to go this way. Kind of looks like a number 2. That's very interesting how the 2 letters that are backwards look like numbers also. So now this is what I need to write on the surface of my can. So let's see if I can do it as nicely over here. And I want to write it kind of big, not too small. So my P goes here, my backwards U right there, my O right here, and then my S right there. Excellent. So now I can decorate my can of soup, and I can decorate it with whatever I want. Pictures are best. Probably don't write any more words, but pictures are going to be great on here. So I think maybe I want this to be an imaginary kind of soup that serves love and kindness. So I'm going to make some hearts. Perfect. I had a teacher once when I was in 3rd grade who taught me that making a heart with 2 stars was like giving a hug in art. So that's why I put my little heart with 2 stars there. All right, so I have my kindness soup right here. And next thing I need to do is I need to put this on top of my piece of styrofoam. Excellent. If you want to put a little piece of tape across here to hold that to your piece of styrofoam, you can, or you can just hold it. I'm going to try and just hold it here. Using my pencil, I'm going to do the same steps a second time. I'm going to basically be tracing, but I want to press kind of hard because what I'm actually doing is I am pressing my lines into my styrofoam. Now, if you touch that, you'll be able to feel that you have pressed into the surface of the styrofoam, and you can actually feel what you've done. Now mine, because it has all these blue words on here, it's a little hard to see. So that's where the pen comes into place. If you're having trouble seeing your lines, you could take an ink pen and retrace once more. And what happens when you trace with a pen, it actually makes the line. Okay, so my first one is done now. I'm gonna put this aside again now, put my pen aside. And now I'm going to switch to some Crayola markers. So my washable markers here, and I'm going to be coloring right onto the styrofoam. Okay, so I'm going to point out a couple of things about coloring on styrofoam with marker. First of all, the color doesn't color like it does on paper because you're coloring on something that has a plasticky surface, so it's always going to be bubbled up like this. It's not going to dry smooth and even like it does on paper. Second is it's always going to come off on your finger, so even if I waited for a long time for this to dry, when I put my finger to it, I'm always going to end up with some ink on my finger. So you want to try not to touch it. I don't know if you watched, I was kind of holding mine from the sides as I colored instead of holding it from the top, which is how I normally draw. So I was holding it on the sides so as not to get a lot of ink on my fingers. And then whenever you're coloring with marker, you also want to make sure your marker colors don't mix. So a lot of times I used my lighter colors first and then I put the darker colors in around it. All right. Now I'm going to put this aside for just a second, grab a sponge that has just a little bit of water in it, not a whole lot. If I squeeze this, nothing should drip out, and I'm going to wet my piece of paper. I know that sounds crazy, but I want it to be just a little bit damp. I do not want it to be too wet. This might be a little bit of trial and error. You might mess up a time or two and have to try it a second time. Let's see if mine works out. Once you feel like you've pressed all the edges and the middle and all around the sides, then you can peel this off and look at your printed piece of artwork. That looks pretty good. So what I'm noticing is that the lines I drew with the pencil and the pen stayed white. I can read the word soup, S-O-U-P. I can read the letters now just perfectly. All of my lines that I drew stayed white, but all of my colors are nice and bright. That's how it should be. I know it doesn't look like a perfect coloring, but that is actually how it should be. So I'm actually gonna do one more. I can take my styrofoam again. I'm not even going to clean it off. If those colors bother you, you can grab a paper towel or something and clean that off if you want. Just make sure it's really dry before you jump in again with your next colors. But I don't mind when there's a little bit of the old ink left over. Doesn't bother me at all. Printmaking is a non-perfect type of artwork. I love how it's different each time. So I'm going to use different colors this time. I like that one too. All right, so you can have fun. You can make as many of these as you want. And the awesome thing is this guy lasts forever. So you can put this away today, come back to it in a week, and you can color it again and press it again. Printmaking is so cool because you always have this to create more and more and more. Once this is dry, I'm going to actually go ahead and cut these out. I'll show you that in just a couple of moments. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to cut it out, and I'm actually going to glue them onto another piece of paper. All right, so pieces of artwork are all dry now. So I'm going to get my scissors back out, and I'm going to gently cut right through here, trimming off all of the white edges. Okay, so I also created 2 additional soup can printmaking pieces, and I've already glued them to my black piece of paper here. So now I'm going to take my last 2, flip them over, apply some glue. Any kind of glue will be fine. Gluing things down like this, I like to flip my paper over and press from the back. I feel like it makes the piece of artwork that I'm gluing down so much more flat, and it adheres to the paper so much nicer. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, one more. All right, and there you have it. There's my finished Andy Warhol inspired Campbell soup printmaking project. I hope you enjoyed this process. You can do this anytime with any piece of styrofoam, and of course you don't always have to make a soup can. You could make any shapes you want. Just remember, if you include any letters or numbers, make sure you write them backwards. All right, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next time for the Heart of the Vikings.